All right. Welcome to Exorcist Anonymous. I do have to put a disclaimer that this may be a PG-13 or better episode. Bill has showed up and he's in a very bad mood.
I'm very hot. I'm very hot right now, coming straight from another meeting.
Yeah. Whoever met with Bill before this podcast recording, you owe me. So anyway, other than that, how are things going?
Oh,
Bill?
yeah. This is just, when you run a business, I was talking to Michael about this before we got on. You run a business, like everything goes great for a long time. And it just feels like, volatility clusters, as people say. Like, this week we have had literally every area of our business has dropped the ball this week, and several outside contractors, like all at once. So I have just spent this week just really, really pretty hot. So I'm going to love this deal. No, I want to buy another business, and you can have this one, Michael.
Okay. Well, I invited you to come on my guy's ski trip, which starts Saturday. So that would have been a good chance for you to take out your aggression on some snow, but I will report to you next week when I get back, but I will take out aggression for you. So you can have
Thank you. Well, I'm very sad to be missing it. The only reason I can't come is because I'm going to Costa Rica this week with my wife for our first vacation since our first child was born. So no offense, but I prioritize her over you.
Yes. Yeah. No sympathy for me. No, all good. Okay. So we got a deal. You and I are both excited about this one. We started talking about it immediately. All right. I'll pull it up here. It is a home-based established crime scene cleanup and biohazard decontamination in Denver. Near ski.
Yeah, this is the type of business that is going to need to be called to our offices if things keep going the way that they're going. Crime scene cleanup. So, okay, this one is cool. It's a home-based established crime scene cleanup and biohazard decontamination business in Denver. And these guys are wearing bunny suits and masks. It's like full on if you're not on YouTube. So they do revenue of $900,000 a year and EBITDA of $400,000 a year. Pretty legit margins, 40% or so. Only use $70,000 of equipment to do it. And they've been around since 2012. So on $400,000 of EBITDA, they're asking $1.22 million. So 3X. I think it's funny they could have just been at 1.2, which would be exactly 3X, but they want an extra 20 grand for some reason. So $1.22 million. For this business.
Oh, I'll tell you what that is.
What?
I'll tell you what that is. The broker said you should charge 3X for this. And the seller said, well, what about my legal fees?
Yep.
And they put them in there. That's what happens every time. I would just tell you how sellers work. We're stupid.
Yeah, something arbitrary or it's somebody's fee right there. Okay. So it says, this is your opportunity to own a highly profitable, established, interesting franchise providing unmatched service in the areas of crime scene cleanup and biohazard decontamination. It's home-based, but you should reside in the Denver metro area. This franchise was established 10 years ago. It does not operate under exclusive territory. Rather, the franchise is free to market and provide services anywhere they desire. This franchise has won all kinds of awards for best overall franchise, etc. Prospective buyers should understand that this business is really a relationship business. You'll be networking and building referral sources with local authorities, communities, emergency services personnel, victim services groups, hoarding task forces, apartment communities, and insurance companies. I notice they don't mention people who do crimes because they don't clean up after themselves. You may also be interacting with families of loved ones. When emergent services are needed, the company responds in 1 to 2 hours. It is important to note that although the owner is trained and knowledgeable in doing the services, he does not typically perform the services as part of his day-to-day ownership duties. In addition, it's important to make clear that the owners do not ever deal with physically handling, removing, or transporting any bodies, as this service is specifically clean up in quotes. So if you're
Okay,
squeamish at all, fear not.
This is the best listing we've ever read. And that includes that nightclub in Houston. Go ahead.
It is a great opportunity to step right into a profitable service business with high margins and high demand. I hope not too high demand. The business is well organized, easy to transfer, and have new owner take over operations. It's growing. There are clean books, records, and accounting. The value proposition and advantage of purchasing this business is that the cumbersome obstacles to building the business have already been overcome, and there's a well-oiled machine in place. It's not necessary to have any prior specific experience cleaning up bodies, I mean, in the industry, since you'll receive training on all aspects of this business from the franchisor and the seller. However, you may find this particularly interesting if you have background experience in medical, police, EMS, fire, armed forces, firefighting, restoration, cleaning, remediation, etc. Here's a list of all the things that they do. This is wonderful. Decomposition / undiscovered death, hoarding, clutter, and gross cleanup, crime scene cleanup service, animal and human feces and urine cleanup, rodent droppings cleanup service, odor removal, suicide homicide cleanup service, homeless encampment cleanup, emergency vehicle decontamination, medical waste service, virus and bacteria disinfection, blood spill cleanup, meth lab cleanup service, mold remediation, and tear gas cleanup. Michael, how excited are you to own this business?
There's a lot about this that I really like, mostly from a listing standpoint, but I do have a personal question for you. Have you ever been tear gassed?
No, I have not. I've been pepper sprayed badly, but not tear gas.
Yeah. It's really bad. Like I got tear gassed. I wandered into a riot in Denver once after the Broncos won the championship. And I'm like, just like walking along with my buddies, and like these cops like drive by and tear gassed us. And I was like, what is going on
Ice
here?
cold, like threw a canister out the window of the cop car at you?
We're like 3 college kids just like walking down the side of the road in downtown Denver. Next thing I know, I'm getting tear gas. Like I'm, involved in some protest,
Whoa.
like Occupy Wall Street or something.
What was
anyway?
Wow.
That's the closest I've ever come to being arrested or anything like that. Like you know, never been arrested. I've barely gotten traffic tickets. It's just not worth it, you know. And but I got tear gassed once. So
if there, do you feel as though the area would need to be remediated if it were indoors and it were tear gassed?
I don't understand what remediation. I mean, maybe indoors. I mean, it just blew away. I mean, it sucked. We went back and ordered Domino's pizza, and everybody felt better like an hour and a half later. That was the whole thing. You know what? I mean, I want to nominate this listing for something that is one of the most interesting kind of situations with businesses, which is, does the business owner and the broker actually understand the business that you're really in and how it works and what makes it successful, right? And it's kind of this old idea of the jobs to be done kind of idea, right? It's like if you're owning a restaurant, right? Do you think that you're in the food business or are you in the hospitality business? And those are really 2 different things. And like what I love here is this broker has identified and gotten the owner to articulate in this listing, prospective buyers should understand that this business is really a relationship business. It's not cleaning up. It's none of those other stuff. The way you win is by developing relationships with other people. And like, I want to nominate this, not that we have an awards, the Acquies or whatever we're going to call them, but I want to nominate this for like, for one of the best listings, because how rare is it that we see somebody actually list a business and the broker and the owner articulate, okay, here's the critical success factor to make this thing actually work.
Is making friends with people who are responsible for cleaning up really bad situations.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what makes a business like this good, right? So you have situations in which services businesses like this can be great businesses, in which they can be not very good businesses, right? So let's look at what's a not very good business, right? It's one where potentially you're delivering a service that's highly commoditized, potentially the buyer is different from the user, right? All those types of things can make a service business terrible. But you have a situation like this where like they need you to show up right then. And like, there's a problem. Like those police can't leave a crime scene until like the dead body goes, right? Or until that homeless encampment is cleaned up. So they need you there right then. And guess what that creates, Bill?
Margin is what that creates.
Yes. Yeah. 1 for 1, Bill. Bill's getting 100%.
Yep.
So, well, the answers were, I knew you knew the answer to that. So the response either was, huh? Which meant you'd gotten distracted by something else, or you answered the correct answer. So I knew there were only 2 answers to that. But like, that's what makes this a great business compared to say something like, you know, one of the ones that I think people get really confused and think that it's a good business is doing pool routes. People think that's a good business. but it breaks all those rules, right? It's not imminent. And you have buyers who are very interested in minimizing price. Like, it's not a very good business. Whereas like pool construction is a very good one, or this business is a much better business than say pool services are. So I love that aspect of it.
So do you think it is hard to staff this business? I mean, can you imagine, we've just read you the business ad to sell this business. Can you imagine the job ad recruiting for people to come work in this business? With undiscovered death and viral decontamination and all this stuff, like, do you think it's hard to attract people to staff this?
I think this is like staffing a painting business. And like my dad used to have these awesome quotes. He's like, yeah, of all the people I'd manage, painters were the craziest. And I was like, well, why is that? He's like, because they sit around and sniff paint all day. I was like, oh, that's really true. so anyway, I think that's the pain in the ass factor here. I think the whole thing is like, you can go hang out with, these police officers, or you can go hang out with whoever is dealing with, medical site cleanup, or whoever's in charge of cleaning out the homeless encampment. Like, I think that's all the fun stuff. I think the pain in the ass is you have to find people who are willing to do this as a job in one of the tightest labor markets in history here. When people can choose from any multitude of 15, 20, 25, or $50 an hour jobs that they can do. And to give you a context, like our local bus system here in San Antonio, they're hiring new people with like a $6,000 signing bonus at like $22.50 an hour, and they can't keep them.
Yeah, it's crazy. Although I think it's gotten better lately, though. It was really bad last year in 2022.
100%. Well, it's actually gotten a lot better. Trying to hire high-powered white-collar workers who formerly had jobs at big tech companies.
Yes, that severance is running out quick.
Yeah, there's a lot of them out there, and they're a little more realistic. Well, I mean, it was so screwed up. Like, we would lose, in some of the things I'm involved in, we'd lose like people to Amazon. And let's say that they were like a developer or programmer working for us, and they're making, let's say, just hypothetically, really good money. Let's say $180,000 a year, right? They're a senior programmer in Texas, and that's pretty good money with bonuses and all that kind of stuff. And they would go to Amazon and get a lower salary. We'd be like, okay, well, you're leaving. Sorry, can we pay you more money? Oh, that doesn't matter. And they'd be like, we're going to get a lower salary. I'm going to get $150,000 in Amazon. It's like, well, why are you moving to a higher cost area to go to Amazon to do this? Well, what wasn't there is they were getting a $400,000 stock grant on top of it. Yeah. So the shareholders, the company was paying them X in salary, which was less than what we were paying them. And then the shareholders were paying the rest. So the Amazon investors, congratulations, you were subsidizing these things. So I'm curious if that continues.
Serious question though, Michael. So there have been they had record hiring, right, at all these tech companies over the last couple of years. And now we've had some significant five-figure layoffs from basically all the big tech companies. At the same time, are you hiring the first people out the door after, like, the first ones cut after a giant hiring boom? Like, is that the creme de la creme, do you think?
I think that's one of the things you see in these riffs. So I would actually go look at the reduction in force. So riff is the term for that, RAF. And I would go look and see what kind of one they did. Because I think there's three types. Okay, so you have your business reduces as a big company, you reduce people and you fire about 5% of the people. Okay, that's riff type number one. That is code for, we just went through, and in order to look good for the market, we just reduced we cleaned out all the fat and all the people we think are the lowest performers, and we fired them. So that's code for that one. Then you have the second one, which is the 15 to 18% riff. That is the code for, I need to cut more, but I'm too chicken to do it. So I just pick the number that everybody else did. So that has some of the underperformers, and then there's some good people that come out the door. Then you have your third type of riff, which is the riff that the smart executives are doing at these companies, which is 20 to 25 to 30%, because they know that's the riff you have to do to really make a difference in costs, and also to avoid what the second group, the 15% group, is doing, which is they're doing one riff now of 15%. Guess what they're going to be doing in another 6 months? 15%. Universally, they have to come back and do another 10%. Yep. So if you're in those second two groups, I know there's a pretty good chance you're a great performer. But here's the thing, Bill, there's a big recession going on in everything tech. Ain't nobody hiring those people. Like everybody who's desperate for employees, or that one I just told you the guy left, they aren't hiring right now. Like stuff's tough out there.
Yeah. So point being though, like, are you interested in hiring the people who just got laid off from Salesforce or Facebook or whatever, these are like 5% riffs, right? Like these are the first people out the door, and they're going to need to do the other cut to the bone riff later. But these people got riff now.
I mean, the tough thing is those are good people, right? By and large, like good people as in like they are fine,
yeah,
good
nice,
human beings,
nice humans,
but they're in a yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, they're good people, but they're in a situation where because they found their way into an industry that has historically paid very well because it was, had unlimited capital and all that stuff going on. They're in a situation now where, let's say they had a $350,000 a year compensation package to be a middle manager or a middle executive at one of these places with stock, going through the roof. How do you afford them now? Like a normal Main Street business can't afford a $350,000 employee. Like, it's just like, so no, I mean, I don't care how good they are. They're to some extent, they've created a cost infrastructure for themselves by living in these places that have, $2 million homes, where it's pretty difficult to figure out like how they could ever survive on the types of wages they get paid and fly over America.
Yeah, they got a big re-rate up, and then they're probably about to get a big re-rate down because the high salary was never sustainable. It was an anomaly.
Totally not sustainable.
So coming back to this business. So one thing that I thought was really interesting as I was reading it is that this is a franchise. And normally I am very wary of franchisees because I go, well, why can't I just go out and approach the franchisor and just start up my own franchisee? I especially think that is a risk here because it says that there is no geographic restriction at all. Which makes like, why can't, Michael move to Denver and decide he wants to clean up bodies and hoarders and just get a franchisee license for the same franchisee and cut my business in half? So that worries me a lot, which maybe is why they say it's entirely a relationship business. Maybe that's your only defense here. But guess what?
Yeah.
I don't have any relationships with anybody that the current owner does, right?
And it's really interesting. I mean, you're going to have to be the type of person who has a shared, I think the buyer business fit here is you need to be the type of person who has a shared kind of culture with those folks. Maybe you're a former, law enforcement officer or FBI officer or something like that, to where you know how to speak and talk that language and you have contacts there. I mean, I would like that. But just like you, like I hear franchise and I know my trade-off is, okay, I'm going to have to pay you to use your brand, and you're going to give me training, and you're going to limit competition of people that are potentially going to be using the brand also. But then if you tell me my franchise fee is not actually going to protect me from you selling 4 other franchises in the Denver area, and I have to compete with those people who are using your playbook and brand, like I don't understand what the trade-off is here and why it's a franchise. Because the value proposition gets all screwed up if I know you're going to open another 2 or 3 right across the street.
Yeah. The one thing though, I will say that appeals to me in this business specifically, like if I'm going to be cleaning up, viral disinfectant, undiscovered, decomposed bodies, you know what I really freaking want? Good SOPs, right? Like if I were like, I want to know exactly how to decontaminate those bodies so I don't get whatever killed them. Or whatever, right? Especially if I'm an employee there, right? So I will say, like, I don't know how to do that. I would hope that this franchise could provide you some really, really rigorous operating procedures, around safety, around billing, around equipment. Like, there's probably a lot here. There's a lot of, there's levels to franchises, right? Like there's, franchise Roto-Rooter, like you can compete with, just buy a freaking, automated drain snake and a van and show up. Like that's different. This is like, there's probably some proprietary knowledge here, right? In the franchise system.
100%. Well, and I bet you also have the ability to, buy and access some of the equipment. Like I don't even know where you get these bunny suits. Like the with all the gear and stuff. Like I don't even know what the right stuff is.
Can you imagine the SOP to put on the bunny suit and then decontaminate it when taking it off? You can't just like buy one on Amazon. Like, here we go, I'm cleaning up the bodies.
Or how do I source the type of person that wants to work in this business? Like, how do I train them? Like, how do I, what do I pay them? Like, there's value here from a franchise standpoint. I guess it's the one thing. It's like, competitor. Like, why do we have why are you going to sell multiple franchises to the guy next door?
Yeah,
like I just
that really bothers me. But like, I mean, can you imagine you walk into like a hoarder house? Where do you even freaking start? Right? Like I'm sure there's an SOP that's like, first open all the doors. or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In case it explodes. I don't know. But like how to attack all these things.
I mean,
you know, I wouldn't even know where to begin.
So you're describing, I think, what makes this, what I love about this business, right? Like you want a business that's like an emergency HVAC service where it's like we had our, I don't know if you've had your air conditioning or heater go down when it's like cold outside. We did on the day, I think it was the day after Christmas or something. It was like Sunday. I mean, it was like a Sunday. And like, guess what I had to do that morning? I called every single person who could work on our AC system. And you know what I paid? Whatever the hell they told me they were going to charge me.
Yep.
And I think that's one of the geniuses about something like this. When you're dealing with an urgent services business, whether it's an ambulance or whether it's like a crime scene cleanup, right? Where the police just call you and you show up and you're like, okay, here's a bill. Thank you. You know, because how do they get multiple bids on a hoarder cleanup? Like, do you do it by the pound? Like it just
also you
work.
have an hour, right? Like you don't have time to run an RFP.
Hell no. Hell no.
You know, and I also think what's great too, this is the other benefit of the national brand, right? Like I need someone here right now. I don't have time to Google and read Yelp reviews and shit. Like I need Roto-Rooter right now, you know, whoever it is, just
Absolutely.
call them. I don't care who it costs. I don't want to like ask if they do hoarders or if they do rodent droppings or if they do dead bodies or whatever. Like if I'm a police officer or I'm, you know, in these occupations that patronize the service, I assume that the national franchise is advertising to them and there's some name recognition here. And when you need something at any price on short notice, name recognition goes a long way.
Yeah, 1,000,000%. Okay. Mirko says we have to wait like 10 minutes until we start pooping on the deals. Can I start pooping on it now?
Poop, and then I'll call the remediation service.
All right. Okay. So there's some in this that's just like a flat out lie. It says you will never have to clean up like dead bodies or do any remediation as owner of this. That is the biggest lie whatsoever, right? Bill, let me ask you a question. You're an upstanding guy. You got a great head of hair, beautiful family, smart, got everything. You got the whole package. You run an e-commerce company. Did you or did you not put tape on a box in the past year in your warehouse?
Absolutely, 100%. I have done every function in the business.
Did you or did you not jiggle a toilet handle at your place when it did not toilet correctly and get your hands dirty doing that at least once in the past
Michael, no joke. 6 months ago, 6 months ago, I get a Slack message from our downstairs neighbor that poop is raining through the ceiling of his office, and clearly it's coming from our office because we're the only ones above him. I find that someone from our warehouse has put things down the toilet, poop included, but not only poop, that should not go down the toilet. And the toilet has backed up, and they, of course, have just pieced out instantly. You know, there's no one around. The entire floor of the bathroom is like inch deep of poop water. And the downstairs neighbor was not kidding. It is raining out of the drop ceiling in their office. And it's my fault.
I think that was more data than that was more.
And I am no joke. I swear on my life, I am mopping his office while the poop water drips onto my head because I can't, like, he needs it remediated. And that is what owning small business is like.
Okay. So I think that's the point. Like if you are getting into a business where you are owning a small trucking company or you're owning a software company or you're owning a fireworks company, right? Like at some point you are going to get very close to whatever that core business is. And if you see something like this, where like, you will never have to do this. Yes, you will have to do it. You will have to go to crime scenes. You will have to walk through like hoarders. You will have to deal with situations in which some poor kid who went to college and then ended up in Denver got tear gassed during a Broncos Super Bowl thing. Like you will have to be involved or at least very close to that. And it will be smelly and stinky. And at least once there will be some strategic thing where you have to be there in an hour. Your main guys are all out skiing and you got to go in there and do the work. Because that's just the way a business like this works, especially when your customers need you and you have strategic customers. So anyway, I just want to poop on that literally and figuratively because it's total BS. Like they shouldn't say that. You will have to do that. That's just the way small business works. That's why you get paid the big bucks.
Yeah, well, it's also funny. They say this is totally home based, can be, you know, hands off, and you will never have to clean up any dead bodies. But it would be really good if you lived in the Denver metro area. Right?
Okay, so now I want to finish up with my biggest pooping on this deal whatsoever, and it says it right here. It is a franchise, which when you go buy a business, part of what you get are SOPs, you get established relationships, you get all this, you get a brand, like you buy all this stuff. Why should I pay 3 times earnings for a franchise that I can just show up with the franchisor and get 90% of that stuff, everything but the relationships, just by signing up to be a franchisee and competing with the owner of this one? Just makes no sense whatsoever. So that's the problem with this non-geographical limitation and the ability for them to sell another franchise right next to you is it basically totally neuters you in terms of your ability to charge for multiple years of revenue. This is akin to, I'm going to buy a McDonald's and I want you to pay 5 times earnings for it, Bill. But oh, by the way, McDonald's Corporation has reserved the right to build another McDonald's right next door and sell it to somebody else. Are you in?
I'm out. But worse, at least it costs a couple $1 million to start a McDonald's, right? Like we could just call this franchise tomorrow, pay the $50,000 franchise fee or whatever. We're in freaking business.
Terrible.
And then, 3 more people can do it too.
Instant pass. I'm out.
How is this okay from the franchisor's perspective? Like this is criminal. Like you are not doing the basic thing that you have to do as a franchisor, which is, protect your franchisees. This is crazy.
I hope this is not true. Because this puts this franchisor in the category of just scammy ass, and I mean scammy ass as a technical term, scammy ass franchisors, of which there's a lot. And like, this is just a real disservice that this seller thinks that they can get 3 times earning for this business because the franchisee has convinced them most likely of that. And the business broker thinks it too, when in reality, the way the franchisor has set stuff up is totally self-dealing and a total disservice to whatever they're selling, and they're scumbags. If it's true. That's just what the listing says. I don't know. We haven't even Googled this thing, but like if you do this and you're a franchisor, you are not a good person.
So what I wonder is whether this deal is actually ever gets done because of exactly that reason. So they say at big letters at the top, pre-approved for SBA financing with only 10% down. Just because it's SBA does not mean there is not underwriting. And, we've had Heather from Live Oak Bank on this show. They do real underwriting, right? They want you to write a business plan. And if they figure out that there is zero moat to this business, you might have a hard time placing the debt for this business. Certainly the equity if you're trying to syndicate it.
Which is kind of sad because this business broker is really good. Look at him. He's not even touching his face. And look, he's smiling. He's got a tie on, Bill.
Michael, he could be this guy, Chris Gerard, he could be your long lost brother. You guys look a little similar.
You just say that because he's bald. But look, he's a nice look. Yeah. I don't know. Did you see when I took the profile pic.ai thing you gave me and I went and paid $20 for profile pics? And yeah, it thinks I'm a lot more attractive than I really am.
Clearly by design, right?
AI has the hots for me. Either that or it thinks I'm Vigo the Carpathian. So from Ghostbusters.
I mean, that's exactly how I would write the prompts for a AI profile picture generator. Like make this person look like Tom Cruise, but a little more attractive, right?
Yeah. Whenever I see people's profile pics that are AI generated, like if you're an 8 as the profile pic, I just subtract 3. Like, okay, you're a 5. That's the way this works.
Well, that's what the incentive is. Like that's what I'm doing if I make a AI profile pic generator.
Dude, I mean, it's interesting, my profile pics, like when I got them taken, I was like, okay, like I like that one. And the guy's like, okay, cool. And I'm like, no, get your ass in there and Photoshop it. I don't want to look like I actually look. Get in there and make me look good.
I don't pay you to take the photos. I pay you to deliver a photo of me that looks good.
Yeah. You need to make me look hot.
That's the job to be done, right?
Perfect. All right, let's wrap this one up. So today's sponsor is CloudBookkeeping for all of your cloud bookkeeping needs. And please consider them. And look, please do us a favor if you enjoy these episodes. Bill and I, we're keeping it 100 today. Did we keep it 100 today, Bill?
101, I think.
Do you use the phrase keep it 100 on your day-to-day? I tell my kids to keep it 100. They think I'm an idiot.
I am not as much. I am a dad, but not quite as much of a dad as you, Michael, though I feel myself sliding toward like full dad, using 5-year-old hip phrases like just to make people cringe.
Dude, I own a fanny pack now.
No, that's cool. Kids own fanny packs now. That's hip.
Now my kids think I actually have a designer fanny pack and a workout fanny pack, and I switch between them.
So do you know how you can tell if you have a cool fanny pack or if you have a lame dad fanny pack? So if you have a lame dad fanny pack, you buckle it around your waist. Do you know how the cool kids are wearing their fanny packs, Michael?
They wear it over the shoulder.
Yes, they wear it over the shoulder and the back, like over one shoulder, and the bag rests in the center of your chest. So it is not a fanny pack, it's like a sternum pack, and it loops over your shoulder and behind your back, almost like a quiver of arrows, but like in the front. That is how the cool kids wear a fanny pack. So if you want to truly, truly horrify your children, I would suggest you switch to wearing your fanny pack over your shoulder.
So it was maybe a month ago, 2 months ago, I was up in New York and in Manhattan and meeting with some of my younger colleagues who are delightfully Gen Z. And we had a couple beers, and then we walked out on the street, and I go, "Hey, if you guys make fun of this fanny pack, you're fired." It's just a joke. They didn't actually work for me, but you make fun of this fanny pack, it's a fireable offense. And one of them turns to me and he goes, "Nice job looking like a German tourist, Girdley." He said, "'Cause I had the fanny pack across my shoulder, like you're talking about. You look like a German tourist, Girdley." I was like, "Ah, he's right."
He's right.
So anyway, okay,
I guess we can keep working here.
Yeah, it's like you could stay. That was really funny. All right, so hey, we are desperate for your attention, audience, and to get this podcast out to more people. We recently hit the top 25 entrepreneurship podcast. Please, please, please open up your podcast application, whether it's Spotify or preferably Apple Podcasts. Leave us a review. Tell us what you think. Ideally, we love 5-star reviews. By the way, Bill, we've gotten 140 reviews. All of them except for one are 5 stars.
Oh, man.
Some guy gave us 3 stars. Like, what the hell's going on here? Like, and they didn't say anything. Like, that's a fireable offense.
Super lukewarm.
Super okay. So leave us a review. It helps with our rankings on the charts, and we're trying to get this in front of more people because we feel like we're helping, and it's a ton of fun, and it's inspiring to hear back from people, especially when they go buy a crime scene cleanup thing, and we make their life better. So please do that, and it would be huge for us. And tell a friend about the podcast if you like it, and do that. So see you next week.